as it is so much my pleasure to officially declare and claim that we have Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson with us today to talk about Hearts Ablaze. And I just turn it over to you, Dr. Ray.
Hey, and greetings, everybody. How's it going? Y'all don't seem really excited now. 'Tis the season to be. Come on now. So, so let me get my PowerPoint up for us so we can begin with today's discussion. So today we're talking about this idea of what now? You say hearts ablaze. Now it's one thing to think about hearts ablaze, but it's a completely different thing to embody it. So today I want us to talk about what does it mean to embody hearts ablaze. So it's easy to talk about, like we've got these phrases, take action, a call to action, act now. And we have so many different kinds of phrases that if we really think about it, it's lip service. They're commonplace phrases. There are things that happen in the world and people will say, we offer our thoughts and prayers, but there's no action. So if we truly desire to live in a world that works for all, a world of peace on earth, goodwill to all, if we want health and equity and wellness, love, compassion, and so much more for all, then we're called to take greater life-affirming action that is effective rather than simply being performative in the words that we say and performative in the things that we do. A world that works for all means we must act. Now, if you, like me, grew up or, had a former kind of Bible-based, Christian-based background or whatnot, you probably are very familiar with this phrase. Faith alone without works is dead. James 2:17. But it also says, faith without action is dead. Faith without action. What is that? Faith without action. It's lip service. It's saying, I'll pray for you. It's saying, yes, I meditate every day. It's saying, yes, I am working to create a world that works for all. It's saying these things, but there's no measurable activity in our lives. Did Tammy not say that this idea, this symbol of fire, means to have courage, to have strength, to have bravery, to have a warrior spirit where we show up and what was that one word she used? Overcome. And I think back to the civil rights movement when there was a song, we shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome. Not someday, but today. But what is it that we are overcoming, Ray? I mean, if we're going to talk about it, we are overcoming all that is showing up in the world as being the opposite of what God is. War is the opposite of peacefulness. So we are overcoming war and the consciousness that creates it. All of the isms, racism, sexism, ableism, we are overcoming all of them. In other words, we are addressing the consciousness that created it. And then we are bringing activity. How do we live our lives in a way that changes and transforms this? As Vicki pointed out earlier, Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, in a talk that he gave, Talks on Truth, he said, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm. Now pause and think about, what does it look like? If your life truly sizzles with zeal and enthusiasm and springs forth with a mighty faith to do the things that are mine to do today. Breathe that in. If we are going to say that God is all there is, that infinite power and presence is incarnating itself right here, right now, as us, then that means everything that we do is God doing. When we're washing the dishes, that's God washing the dishes. Laundry, that's the universe doing laundry. Shopping, that is the infinite spirit, the thing itself, shopping. Are we doing this with a sense of awareness that says, I know that everything that I do, all of my actions are the activity of spirit. Years ago, when I was a public school teacher, we would talk about the acronym of ACT. Action changes things. We would talk about accountability, cooperation, and teamwork. We would teach the children the acronym to acknowledge, to show you care, to tell a trusted adult. Pause for a moment. Kids of any age, be that a kid of 1 or 101, we are invited to acknowledge, we are invited to show that we care, we are invited to tell a trusted adult. Well, what does that mean, trusted adult? A friend, a family member, your minister, your practitioners, when there is something that is weighing on your heart, your mind, your spirit, tell someone. Bring it into prayer. We are invited, if we are the living embodiment of the universe, then are we not invited to show up in a more powerful, palpable way? Dr. Holmes says, if we wish to demonstrate happiness, success, and abundance in whatever we do in this life, then it is certain that if there is a law which cannot deny it, in such degree as we imbibe, embody, become the spirit of that law, right action cannot, we'll say what now? Right action cannot be denied. Just as the light will overcome the darkness. Oh, there's that word again that Tammy said, overcome. Just as the light will overcome the darkness, so a knowledge of limitless supply, a knowledge that that which God is, will heal that consciousness that created poverty. See, one of the things we often do is we finger point, we blame the founding fathers for, we blame this neighbor or that neighbor, we blame this political affiliation or that one, we blame somebody. It's because of my parents it's because I grew up this way, because we are invited into a space where we no longer need to, now we hold folks accountable. We hold ourselves accountable, but rather than pointing the finger, we take action to say what needs to be changed. If I get a paper cut, ow, okay, Vicky, I got a paper cut. Ooh, look at that. Paper, it's paper's fault. Ooh, and I'm mad at the paper, and I ball up the paper, and I felt, okay, what about the finger that's bleeding? What about the finger that's bleeding? Because Vicky's going to say, well, Ray, are you focused more on the paper or are you focused on the healing and the thing that is calling to be healed? Rather than we are invited to step into a new energy. Dr. Holmes also says, everything, breathe this in, everything that is of the nature of limitation, and we could say lack and scarcity, is but the limitless flow through us at the level of our acceptance of life. Woo! There is only one life, and that life is God, and that life is your life now. Are you living in awareness and embodying the limitless flow of infinite spirit itself? Are you accepting that? Therefore, we are not fighting the evil with good, or less with more, or fighting the wrong with the right. We are merely establishing a higher level of action of that which is eternal and perfect. Dr. Holmes also said, whatever is true about God is true about you. That which is eternal, true about God, true about you. And perfect, true about God, true about you. If God is wholeness, perfection, and completeness, then you are an individualized expression of wholeness, perfection, and completeness. Now, one of the things we often do is back to the finger pointing. It's this person's fault, it's that person's fault, rather than sitting in the space of what is mine to do. Now, we may all be familiar with the story. There was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blame somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. Say what now? So rather than saying it is this person's fault or that person's fault because we are not living in a world that works for all, be the somebody, be the anybody who is embodying the divine, and then let your consciousness be the infectious fire that sets ablaze the hearts, the minds, and the souls of every person you come in contact with. That you are the catalyst that transforms everybody, every incarnation of the divine, so that we truly live in a world that works for all. So ask yourself, what can you do? What will you do? And what is yours to do? And then, as Tammy said, have the courage to do it. And sometimes that means standing up when others would choose you sit down. It means speaking up when someone else would prefer you be silent. It means recognizing that the infinite power of love itself is incarnating in, through, and as you, and that it can't be silent. And show up as it. The greatest good which our mind is able to conceive should be affirmed as part of our everyday experience. From such daily meditation, prayer, spiritual practices, journaling, divine conversations, we should venture forth into a life of action with the will, with the conviction, with the strength, the courage, the bravery to do it. The determination to be, as Katy Perry said, be the fireworks and light up the night, and a joy in becoming. So Dr. Holmes said, feeling organized, and I'm going to remix this, feeling organized and directed is intelligent creation. Okay, yes, I'm with you, but I don't want to just feel it. So how about embodying and taking organized and directed action is to consciously and actively live from and live as intelligent creation. Infinite mind is forever in action. Infinite mind is forever producing good. This action is the activity of each and every person. This is the activity of you. Infinite mind as you, forever in action, producing what now? Good. And as Emma Curtis Hopkins said, my good is my God. They are synonymous. Infinite mind is forever in action, producing, expressing God. And this action is the activity of you right now. We say we believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. We say it. We say we believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. We say it. Are we allowing our hearts to be set ablaze? Are we fairly sizzling because we are embodying this? What does it look like for us to embody this awareness, this truth? Because it should change how we show up. The first time a parent told us, before you cross the street, look both ways. And we believed them. Why? Because we understood that thing that is called automobile, traveling at 55 miles an hour, my butt bumper is not going to stop it. So since my butt bumper is not going to stop it, let me stand on the corner, let me stand at the curb and look both ways. When we believe something and we trust it, it changes how we behave. We look both ways. We don't stick forks in the electrical socket. We don't make toast while we're sitting in the bathtub. We don't do these things because we trust and believe science that says, unless you want an afro, don't do that. That's not healthy. So we trust. Do we trust and believe this to the degree where we are allowing it to change our behavior. Breathe. Dr. Holmes says, there are going to be changes in our lives. Wait, Dr. Holmes. We don't like change. We don't look, man. When Ray was a public school teacher, I remember when we phased out chalkboards for dry erase boards and then phased those out for smart boards. Trust and believe there was a rebellion and a revolt from the old school teachers who were like, I started teaching back in 1765. I was there when they invented chalkboards. I will not give up my chalk and my chalkboard. No, that is the thing of the devil. It is witchcraft. You want to know. I remember the revolt. But let us also remember that that which spirit is, the infinite Tao, is forever changing. It takes bravery and courage to embrace the change. And as Dr. Holmes says, there are going to be changes in our lives from hour to hour, day to day, minute to minute, and we cannot escape them. It is the nature of the universe. So, what are we invited to do? Accept change. Embrace change. Make the most of it and capitalize upon it. The action of the law never changes, but the direction that this action is always up to us. That is what changes. Gravity doesn't change. It's not like one day Vicky and I and Vernon, we decided to go. We didn't tell y'all this, but we went skydiving, right? And it was amazing because I jumped out and I, fell because that's what gravity does. Vernon jumped. We had parachutes. Vernon jumped out. He fell. It's what gravity does. How in the world did Vicky jump out and float up? Vicky defied gravity. I'm trying to, anyhow, right? We understand that gravity does what gravity does. Gravity doesn't change, but how we operate within the power of the scientific law of gravity. That's how planes fly. That's how parachutes work. That's how helium balloons float up. We understand that there are certain things within the law of gravity that we can modulate and modify to cooperate with it. We could do the exact same thing with the infinite law. Breathe. The science of mind and spirit as a liberation theology offers us the ability to change our habitual behaviors and take greater life-affirming action in our lives. Actions that not only benefit us individually, but actions that create ripples, that become the fire that and moves through all the ripples that benefit the collective, even when the collective does not realize it. The collective consciousness that was once slavery and Jim Crow segregation was unable at the time to see how diversity, equity, and inclusion not only benefited people of color as their liberation came to be, but how their liberation was actually a catalyst that also liberated the oppressors. See, that's what happens with freedom. That's what happens with the illumination and enlightenment and inner intuition when we express it. It changes all aspects of. The same goes for the LGBTQ liberation, women's liberation, etc. We have the agency to steward our divinity into measurable actions, and those actions accumulated. One drop becomes one drop, and then one drop, and then soon it's overflowing. The actions become accumulated, and the very things that bear the fruit of a world that truly works for all. So as we get ready to end, I simply want to invite you to journal and ask yourself some questions. Who in my life have I blamed? Who have I finger pointed? Right? When have I done so? Be careful how you live, as William J. Toms says. Be careful how you live. You may be the only Bible that some person ever reads. Well, what does it mean as it relates to science of mind and spirit? Be mindful of how you live. You may be the only representation of the science of mind and spirit that someone ever reads or experiences. What habits, behaviors, actions do you engage in that are not life affirming, not as much as they could be. And this week, what will you do to set your heart ablaze to fairly sizzle and change them? What things have I put off? Who have I not helped? When have I relegated something as being for someone else, anyone else for do, rather than this is mine to do? And lastly, as the Charles Fillmore quote said, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm. What does this quote inspire, invite you to do today? Breathe. As we enter into that space of what we call treatment, prayer, it is simply it is declaring that which we know to be true. So enter into that space of infinite truth with me as we begin at the end. We begin with our amen. We begin with our and so it is. We begin with the ashe, aho. We begin with knowing answered prayer. Yes, I know that every person who is tuning in right now, or those who tune in at some other time, yes, I know that each person is a divine incarnation of spirit. Amen. Amen. That each person, from the top of their head to the soles of their feet, are a divine demonstration of wholeness, perfection, and completeness. Amen, that I know that whatever is on the hearts and minds of these individualized expressions of God, knowing that there is only one mind and that mind is God, the moment it is on the mind of anyone here, it is also within the infinite mind. That means the prayer is already in motion. That means the law has already received and is acting accordingly. That means when there is a loved one who is facing a health challenge, the moment we know health and well-being, it's already in the one mind. The law is already moving. It is already answered prayer. Amen. Amen, that as we gather together and speak these words and pray these prayers and speak these poetries and songs and dance this awareness, because our hearts are ablaze and we fairly sizzle with enthusiasm and zeal, doing what is ours to do, that it is changing the very topography of planet Earth. It is changing every heart, every mind, every spirit, every soul, every hand, every foot, every heart, every stomach, every mind, every blade of grass and every grain of sand. All is vibrating with the infinite illumination that God is. Amen. And amen, that I know that we don't simply say amen at the end of a prayer, but the way that we live our lives is our amen. So I stand back and marvel at the magnificent way that each of these divine beings shows up, hearts ablaze, minds illumined, serving as only they, individualized expressions of God, can serve and show up. And knowing and calling this good and being grateful for it and grateful for it all, I surrender it, because it's already done. It's already so. And so it is.